Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about The Lincoln Lawyer Season 2, Episode 2. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, Mickey's dealing with his dilemma, and he is trying to get advice. And I love that he's at this hypothetical lawyer being in the situation he's in, and it's like, oh, you're kind of screwed. So, even if you kind of skirt the line, you break any rules, you'll be disbarred. But it also brings up the whole conversation of, well, even if you are trying to do the right thing, it will screw up your career, because that means like no one will, they'll be like, oh, anyone that becomes your future client will be like, oh, he ratted out his previous client, so no one's going to want you to represent them anymore, so you're screwed in that department. But even then, the whole conversation of, well, isn't this kind of a conflict of interest? And it's like, yeah, it kind of is. I don't think there's ethically yes, but I don't know if there'd be like any ethical repercussions for just being in this situation, even though yes, in itself it is a conflict of interest. It's like, yeah, you got to give that case to someone else, which obviously Mickey doesn't want to do because he already abandoned Jesus once before, and he doesn't want to do it again. And it's like, especially because it sucks, because you have the needed information to exonerate him, but you can't use it. So he has to get smart about it. And I love that type of storytelling, because the show that did it the most is Leverage, and I always loved it, where you think you got the full picture of everything that went down, and it's not until the end of the episode they're like, well, you thought it was this, kind of a sleight of hands of, you thought it was this when in actuality it's this, and that was all planned. That type of stuff I think is kind of interesting. So I love that this show kind of does that, because he got the advice, but we never got to see that until like the end of the episode. So Mickey's juggling this. He's told one person the truth about it. He's been avoiding Jesus. He hasn't told Lorna or Cisco about it. He's kind of keeping that to himself because he's trying to figure out, like, all right, what do I do? Because he's also got to play it super close to the vest, because the more people you tell about it, the less, because you want people to not be on guard, because the more people you let know, the more people have to act, and it's like, it's too much of a dangerous gambit for most people to sign up and be okay with. So the less they know, the more they're just kind of not like on guard and not performing, because you'd be able to see through like probably Lorna or Cisco performing, because they'd probably look at Russell a certain way, so you want to keep them in the dark about him. So the bastard had the audacity to show up he's like, oh yeah, I had this like ticket thing that, oh, you want to deal with me? He's like, he did that on purpose. Like, oh, I want to know, I'm getting in legal trouble, so that here you are, you have to get me out of, like, it's a middle finger of, you can't do anything to me without destroying your career. And also, I want you to represent me, so you can't take me down for the crime I did. In fact, I'm actually going to use you to help me get out of these minor infractions, just to rub it in your face a little bit. It's like, the guy's a sociopath, so. But also, he has to deal with Glory Days, which I did not remember that the actress who plays her is actually the same actress who plays Renee in Tracker. I didn't know that her name's Fiona Renee. I was like, oh. Obviously, season one, this second season would have came out like probably around the time season one of Tracker was airing, so I probably would have, but if I probably watched this at that time, that would have been a quick thing of like, oh, it'd been a big time between season one and of watching Tracker and watching season one of the Lincoln Lawyer, so I probably just didn't remember that. But I was like, oh, I totally had no idea you played Glory Days. But it's like, yeah, sadly, it's just kind of like she got caught up in the situation. The guy she was with offered her some coke, actually gave her a little bit more as a gift instead of payment, and she was okay with it, because she's like, well, if I'm hooking up with anyone later on, they pay a little extra if they're able to get a little bump on the side. So, and it's because she had 4 baggies that it qualifies as not just possession. They can justify that as, oh, you have enough here. There's no, like, it's kind of a legal thing of saying, like, right, you have enough to distribute, which is so interesting. Maybe she's just got 4 bumps for herself, but that's not how the law works in that capacity, how it views that. So she could be really, really in trouble for this. And even she's like, right, Lorna said that you wanted me to talk to Jesus. He was like, don't even worry about that right now. It's like, I got too much. I'm juggling right now. But it turns out the guy she was with, his name is Hector. Turns out Hector's from like some Tijuanan cartel. So he's a pretty big player, which we never resolved that necessarily. But I'm wondering, is that going to come back in some shape or form, especially considering like what Mickey does. Like he goes to Maggie to like get the backing and help because he's like, oh, this will also help you if we take down this Tijuana drug guy. So like have the feds there ready to take him down and stuff like that. And because obviously it was going to help get Maggie back in a better position to potentially get the case back that she had taken from her. But I'm like, I don't know where that all stands at the end of the episode. So, I mean, I guess it still is a win in the long run. You're not taking down the person you thought you were, but you took down someone else. So, give and take, I guess. But I'm like, I don't know how Maggie's going to feel about that next episode. She's probably going to be pretty pissed about you kind of using her. I mean, once again, we as the audience thought he was being sincere about it. Like, okay, he's trying to help get Glory Days out by tossing them. This guy. All right, I'm so stupid. They did. I'm not going to cut it out. I'm going to keep it in there. I was so stupid because I forgot. He contacted Maggie and he was like, right, one more thing. So they already took down the Tijuana guy, and that's what gave him the leverage to ask her for this one more favor. So she came through. So it all worked out in the end. So, I mean, Maggie kind of already felt like she was being used anyway. But regardless, it all worked out so that there shouldn't be any issues. Because I was like, they didn't take down the Tijuana guy. Isn't he still? But it's like, no, like I was kind of misremembering the situation because the thing at the end of the episode with Russell, like that was like that one more thing. I forgot he had texted her like asking for one more favor. So yeah, it's all kind of gotten resolved. So. I knew he kept asking Cisco to be around for a very specific reason. I thought it's because like he didn't want to. Well, for one, he didn't want to take the chance Russell might come back to the office, and he didn't want to leave like Lorna or even Izzy there in the office by themselves with him. He's just like, I want somebody to be here, but also Cisco played into his plan. So once again, quite the genius plan. I knew something was up the moment Glory Days like gave a perfect description of Russell, and I was like, did Mickey coach her? And it doesn't seem like he did. It probably is just a thing of she does legitimately remember what he looks like, but he knew, like, I mean, setting everything up, making Russell come pick up the thing, but also leaving just enough of it covered up for Russell to see, hey, he's going to see Glory Days, like the woman who saw me, I'm loose end I need to take care of. And then also stressing to Griggs, like, hey, I just want to make sure Glory Days is protected. So Griggs figured out to the end that he's like, oh, I got manipulated and played. You know, it's like, once again, Mickey was in a tough spot. He couldn't really do anything. So, you know, made the best of the situation. So it's like it all worked out in the end. But I love how that was. I was like, right, it's got to be part of the plan. Like when we follow Glory Days to like her house and everything, I was like, well, we saw the camera falling through. I was kind of scared because I was like, wait, don't tell me he already got her. It's like, there's no way. And it's like, is he here trying to get her now? I was like, it's got to be a setup, right? Because there's no way, like, Mickey... It's like, once again, she got put in danger, but he had safety nets in place because, once again, even Cisco was outside ready to jump in if the cops didn't act fast enough. Or the feds or whoever didn't act fast enough, so... And luckily, Griggs ended up being there, too, because what he said at the time really struck a chord with Griggs. So he's like, all right, let me make sure everything's kosher, so... But yeah, the bastard's like, saying like, oh, she's lying. It's like... kind of a moot point considering they literally busted in on you trying to murder her. So you kind of got caught red-handed, homie. So it is a situation of... Because I love that. Like, I knew something was up the moment Mickey was telling everyone. He's like, nah, Cisco, you just stay in the office. Izzy, you got the day off. In fact, you stay here and help out Lorna. And he had a tennis racket. And I was like, oh, is that supposed to be your alibi so Russell can't know what you're doing? Because you're like, right, I couldn't have coached Glory Days. I couldn't have manipulated this situation. I was over here playing tennis. You know, he was biding his time. You know, I'm sure it also kept his mind off of worrying how things could go wrong. But I think it was just more so like he could have some kind of form of an alibi because he wasn't by himself while he was playing tennis. So, once again, I love like big brain moves like that. I thought that was so beautifully done and executed. So I thought that was pretty smooth and neat. So... But yeah, Russell went down for it, and I love Mickey coming to him, being like, yeah, technically I'm still your lawyer or retainer, but that retainer's about to run out. It's like, one piece of advice for you. And it was basically like, be careful, like if you threaten my family in any shape or form, there are people, clients who are in prison who owe me a favor, and they will rock your shit if you like threaten my family again. And so it's like, yeah, he's going down for this. His guy's like, yeah, I didn't do anything. It's like, yeah, because he made sure, and he was warned, like, make sure you cross all your T's and dotted all your I's. But part of me's scared and worried that me, because I'm like, are we I was like, there's no way, because this is such a major storyline that, like, I was like, there's no way we're done with this, like, thing. Like, he might strike a deal because he's going to sell somebody out type of thing, and maybe he ends up dying in prison because, like, not because of anything related to Mickey, but just because he ends up, like, getting killed for something, because he knows some secrets or something. He knows where the bodies are buried when it comes to some powerful people or something. I have no idea. It's just, I was like, there's no way we're done with that. I was like, not unless that ends up connecting to the Lisa story, but it seems like that's so different. But that's something separate, but I don't know. I was like, there's no way we nip this in the bud immediately, because I thought Mickey was going to have to deal with this like the entire season, and it's already nipped in the bud. I was like, there's no way. There's got to be like some, like, he's going to get blindsided by that in some shape or form. Once again, it could connect to the Lisa stuff, which we'll get to later, but I don't think it will. I mean, it also depends on his lawyer and how they handle that stuff. They might, because that's the thing, like, when it's all said and done, Jesus is good. Like, regardless of what happens to Russell, like, if he somehow gets free or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, everything's set in stone to protect Jesus. He'll never get dragged into this. They could never charge him again. So I think that's a silver lining, but I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall with this Russell thing, and I just don't know in which way that swerve is going to come, you know? So we'll see. I got that pit in my stomach, like, there's no way, like, everything's too happy, because I was scared, like, multiple times, like, oh, is Gloria Hayes going to, like, end up dying? But it's like, no, she's going to go to, like, Hawaii and kind of start over again, you know, for a little while, get away from all the nut jobs in LA. So hopefully things keep up on that front. We'll see where the storylines go and whether there's more to it or not. Speaking of the Lisa thing, that does seem to be our major through line. Like I said, first episode, I was under the impression that the character of Lisa was going to be like a lawyer or something, and that's her connection to Mickey. I wasn't expecting her to be a client. And her story, because I figured like this would be like a major B plot, would be the whole like Mitchell thing, because she's got the restraining order against herself, and she can only be with, like, it's like, right, his construction's happening like right near my business and home. What do I do if he happens to show up here? And it's like, well, he's the one that has to kind of stay away from you. You're working and this is your home, so you have every right to be here. But she's like, I have to drive past some places that he kind of owns when I'm going to get, like, you know, food and stuff for the restaurant. So it's like, it's such an interesting tightrope. And then the stinger at the end of the episode is she got arrested for, because when the LAPD number popped up, once again, my immediate fear was, oh my God, please don't tell me like Gloria Day died or something like that. And it's Griggs. But I was like, Griggs would call you probably directly from your phone. So it just being LAPD makes sense. It's like, right, she's calling, like she made one call to her lawyer friend, her quote unquote friend. Yeah, but she's being accused of Mitchell's murder. So perfect patsy considering all the smoke and restraining order against her. It makes sense. I would assume we're going to find out the person who is responsible is someone close to Mitchell who was trying to take advantage of this situation, who's well versed enough in it to know that she'd be the perfect patsy. They've been probably laying the groundwork and putting, like, maybe they even push Mitchell to do a lot of this just because they knew they were setting up the perfect patsy and Lisa. We'll see. Once again, early predictions. We don't know anything about the case. We won't know until next episode the specifics of, like, well, what happened and why is Mitchell dead, and do they have any evidence that actually says Lisa did it? I'm sure Lisa didn't do herself any favors. I'm sure there's something that came up where she was probably still respecting restraining order, but probably skirting that line, and it probably blows back on her. It's going to hurt her in the long run. We'll see. So, some other elements to the episode. We have the Cisco situation. Him and Lorna, let's focus on their wedding really quickly. She's trying to put together a guest list, and he doesn't really know who to bring. Understandable. He's like, right, my family situation is complicated. So the only people he's inviting to the wedding is Lisa and Izzy. And there's also, was it Steve, who works at like, I forgot who it was, Steve or whatever. And Lorna was like, oh my God, I love Steve. Good choice. But like, those are only people he's inviting. But he's like, yeah, he loves Lorna and he wants to make her happy, and invite who you want to. But these are the people that matter the most, because he's like, everyone else, I can't really bring anyone from my past because I'm trying to move on from my past. You are my future. But the past, as we know, is not that easy to get away from, as he's dealing with it now, and he's keeping it from Mickey and Lorna. But Teddy is dragging him back in because Kaz, who got out of jail last episode, Teddy wants to keep an eye on Kaz because he wants to know whether Kaz is a rat or not. You were sentenced to 8 years, but you got out in 3 because of probation. You must have cut a deal. And it's like he wants to, and I'm sure at the end of the day, it's probably going to turn out that he actually did. And now I'm sure that Cisco is going to try and handle this all on his own, and he's eventually going to have to tell Lorna and Mickey the truth, because he's going to be in deep. Because I'm sure something's going to happen to Kaz, and then Cisco's going to be in the middle of all of it. He's going to potentially be a suspect in the murder and stuff like that. Or at the very least, Teddy's going to throw him under the bus to be not he actually did it, but Teddy will probably throw you under the bus to make it seem like you were the one that did something to Kaz. Especially like if he is riding on like to the cops or whatever, like who knows like who he's talking to. It might not just be like the locals. It might be like some feds type of situation. So yeah, Cisco's kind of stuck in that department. We got an answer to the Lorna thing from last episode. She went to get the thing signed, which once again, she didn't bring it up to Cisco about like what the issue was. But it turns out it was a professor in her Totes class. And essentially he called her smart, always kind of asked her to like give the answer, like, and she felt good about it until he made a move on her. She turned him down, and it turned into a situation of he made her second guess herself and doubt herself. So I was like, I don't think she failed the class or anything like that, but he made her kind of start, I guess, feeling a certain way of like, oh, the only reason why I wasn't really smart, it was just you puffing me up because you were really like, you were more so trying to get with me. But, and he didn't even remember Lorna until she started bringing this up. At least he apologized about it later on, and it wasn't really as much of an apology, but at a minute of, you were my best student. Because for her, it's like, I second guessed and doubted myself for so long, but she's like, no, I'm a badass, I'm super smart, I'm not going to like let what you did, because what you did was wrong. And so no, I'm I think that carried on and stayed with her for so long. And she, once again, I was surprised, like I didn't. That once again, some of these storylines, I'm like, oh, I thought these would be longer thread storylines, but it's like, no, that was nipped in the bud this episode as well. We'll see if there's anything else that comes from that. But Lorna's kind of secret that she was dealing with was kind of immediately dealt with. So we'll see if anything else kind of rears its ugly head from this situation. But yeah, that was immediately resolved. So some very, very interesting developments all across the board. I'm very, very excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. Oh yeah, really quickly before I wrap this up, there was also the Izzy update. She's going to open like her own like dance studio, but it's also going to be with Ray. But it's like, yeah, it's for the first time their relationship is in like the best place it's ever been. So, Izzy's being a little more hopeful, but at the end of the day, Mickey just wants her to be happy. That was interesting too when he, because she broached the whole conversation. Like, yeah, I can't be driving you for her. He's like, yeah, he's like, I guess I just kind of thought you'd be driving me for a while, but he's like, yeah, whatever you want to do, Izzy. Like, it's gonna be sad not having you driving me around anymore. But I wish you the best, and I'm happy for whatever decisions you make. Because the thing is, they're trying to get the money together right now for the perfect spot in the studio, and you're just like, all right, we'll see where things kind of go, but it's probably that sad reality of things. It just feels like it's going to be like another crash and burn situation for them. I don't think it's going to work out, sadly. But we can't hope for the best, but also be like prepared and mentally prepared for the ultimate disappointment, because people can let you down. You don't want to live your life assuming they're going to, but you do have to prepare yourself for the at least the realm of the possibility. So we'll see where things kind of go on the Izzy front in that regard. But yeah, like I said, next episode is going to be interesting to see where it all takes us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.